So this is the S21 Ultra versus Z Fold 3, and in this video I'm going to help you decide whether you should be upgrading from the S21 Ultra to the Z Fold 3 or just help you pick between either of these phones. Now, when it comes to picking between them, performance-wise is very similar. So it all depends on how you use your phone because how you use them is very different. So let's get right into it. So yeah, spec-wise, very similar. Snapdragon 888 on both of them. 12 gigs of RAM on both of them, and then kind of similar storage. You get 256 starting on here versus 128 starting on S21 Ultra. So a little bit more on the Z Fold 3 if you're starting out with the base model, but you can't expand either one, and then no headphone jack on both of them. So it's a bummer with those losses, but otherwise, if you're thinking about upgrading from S21 Ultra to the Z Fold 3 because of performance, you're not getting a performance boost. It's literally the same thing. And then if you're choosing between them because of performance, it's the exact same. So don't even consider performance as a difference. It's the exact same thing. And build quality, pretty much the same thing as well. Honestly, they're both built very nicely, premium feeling, comfortable in the hands. Even though this one's a little bit heavier, it still feels very comfortable in the hand, whether you have it closed or when you have it open, it feels just right. When you have it open, it is almost like a two-handed phone, so keep that in mind. With the S21 Ultra, it is literally just a one-handed phone. Honestly, it can be two-handed as well because it is a pretty big phone still, but it's still easy to handle on the one hand. You can easily use it as you please. And the displays are going to be very similar, high refresh rate, so both going to be buttery smooth, going to be fast, going to be bright, going to be nice and crisp. Only difference being obviously that the Z Fold 3 has two displays, so you kind of have to pick between using the small, narrow display or if you want to use the big display, whichever one you need for your situation. Versus the S21 Ultra, you have one display, one big display, I would say. It's like a middle ground between the Z Fold 3, so it's not narrow, but it's also not super big. Versus Z Fold 3, you have to pick between a narrow or super big. So if you're not into that idea of having to pick between the two screens, like which one am I going to use for this situation or this app or stuff like that, S21 Ultra is better off because you get a big screen, but you also get a nice compact one compared to the unfolded version of the Z Fold 3. As far as biometrics, you're getting very similar stuff. S21 Ultra has it under the display, a fingerprint sensor, and it also has facial recognition. Z Fold 3 here has both a fingerprint, which is under the power button, and then also facial recognition, which works on either the outer display or the inner under display camera. So whichever one will work with facial recognition. Now, as far as the difference between the power button and then the under display, they're both very similar. If anything, the Z Fold 3 is just a little bit faster because it's on the power button versus it being under the display. So if anything, it's just a little bit faster, not by much. Honestly, this is still very fast and very good. Another similarity is the speakers. They're both pretty loud, I would say. Very similar sounding, full, rich. They're great. Honestly, you're not going to have any issues. Phone calls, video watching, the speakers sound fantastic on both of them. And you also have USB-C charging on the bottom. Believe both do 25 watts of fast charging. That's as fast as speeds you get. Both have reverse wireless charging and wireless charging. So you get the best of both worlds as far as being able to charge it either way. Now, the difference starts here. Battery life, let's get right into it. So it's a smaller battery on here compared to the S21 Ultra, quite a bit smaller. And then you have a bigger display, so you're going to be using this battery up a lot more compared to the S21 Ultra. So this is one of the big ones. So if battery life is super important to you, you should go with the S21 Ultra because the S21 Ultra has not only a bigger battery, but a more, efficient display, so it won't drain that battery as fast. Versus the Z Fold 3 has a smaller battery, and if you're using the outer display more, you'll definitely get by longer. But if you're using the inner display a lot more, you're definitely gonna drain it a lot faster. So battery life is okay on here. I would say it lasts maybe 8 to 10 hours with 3 to 4 screen hours of on time. Versus the S21 Ultra that could last 16 hours, definitely a whole day, and get 3 to 5 hours of screen on time. So definitely a better battery life on here compared to the Z Fold 3, which is come to expect it because of the smaller battery. Just spec-wise on paper, you can definitely expect it to be not as good as the S21 Ultra. So if battery life is a huge thing for you, like you won't be near a charger as much, definitely go for the S21 Ultra or stay with the S21 Ultra. So the best way I think to show you how they each vary and they're different is by talking about different scenarios. So first, the simple one, texting. Texting, I would say, is very different on here because if you're using the S21 Ultra, you get that one display. You can easily adjust the keyboard if you want, but you're getting one display, so it's not like you have many options as far as like choosing you want a bigger keyboard or a smaller keyboard, or if your hands have to adjust. So you can easily do two-handed texting on here or one-handed texting, however you prefer. Versus the Z Fold 3, if you're going to use the outer display, you're going to have a little bit of a smaller keyboard. Now, I've been able to like adjust to it, so like I'm actually able to do two-handed texting on here, and I'm kind of decent at it. But you can also definitely do one-handed texting on here for sure. But again, it is a crammed keyboard, so that's something to consider if you're not a fan, or if you have big fat fingers. This might not be the most comfortable, but you can also open it up and start texting inside the display. You'll get a bigger keyboard here. So if you're using Samsung's keyboard, you're able to like split the keyboard in half or adjust it however you please, have it a floating keyboard, however you want. But I use a Google keyboard, so I have the full screen as the keyboard. Basically because I have long ass hands, long ass fingers, so I can easily reach between both sides, with the full screen using up the whole keyboard. So you do have options here, and it is a way of forming a habit. Personally, if it's a quick text, I'll use the outer display, no problem. Like if it's like a, hey, I'm on my way or something like that, outer display is fine. If it's like a longer sentence, like I have to explain something that's going on, like if I have to explain to my coworker what happened in a long paragraph, I will go into the inner display and use that inner display. And as far as like the app, if you use Samsung's app, the way it's like set up in the UI is a little bit different. So on here, on the S21 Ultra, it's your typical, brought down a little bit so you can reach your recent messages. Versus the Z Fold 3, it's almost like a tablet, set up like a tablet. You have your conversations on the left, and you have that main texting bubble, the one that you're focused on, whoever you're replying to, on the right-hand side, which is pretty cool. So texting, in my opinion, I would probably pick S21 Ultra, just because you don't have to worry about whether you want to open it or not just to send a text. You just do it. But honestly, I'm getting used to it, but I would still pick the S21 Ultra for that. All right, so the biggest difference is going to be the way you take advantage of multitasking. If you are a multitasking beast, 100% you're going to love the Z Fold 3. If you're not, then you're better off just sticking or going with the S21 Ultra. Let me explain. So obviously, you have that big inner display in here. And if you're taking full advantage of it, you better be multitasking. If you're just using one app at a time, if you know you're always going to be using one app at a time, you're not going to be taking advantage of the big screen, because some apps aren't fully optimized for it. So like Instagram, Snapchat, most social media apps aren't fully optimized for it. So you're not getting an advantage here. You're literally just looking at one post at a time. And at that point, you're either better off looking at the outer display or looking at it in the S21 Ultra with a better display to be doing it on, because you could see a couple more posts at a time. So honestly, if you're just going to be using one app at a time, just go with the S21 Ultra. If you want to learn how to multitask like a beast, you should definitely consider the Z Fold 3, because you can split the inner display into 2 or 3, or use a bunch of pop-ups if you want. Now, the way I do things is just with 2 usually. So 2 being either YouTube and Reddit, Instagram and Facebook. You can open up 2 social media apps at a time, Snapchat, Instagram. Do as many apps as you would like to combo with, and figure out which apps works best with doing what combo. My primary use ones are YouTube and Reddit, like I said, and I occasionally play Clash of Clans, Clash Royale, so you can horizontally turn it and then do 2 apps up and down, or half and half again still, however you want to do it. I did try something crazy. I did try Clash Royale and Clash of Clans and then YouTube in the corner. Not really the most useful way to do something like that, because I'm focused on just one thing, that being Clash of Royale. So like it was a waste having Clash of Clans open and YouTube open is fine, but Clash of Clans open was a waste, just probably draining my battery for no reason there. But yeah, you can do it if you want to. Another cool one that I tried was I tried playing Call of Duty on the bottom half and having a YouTube video on the upper half. This was actually really cool, because you could be playing the game and then listening to a YouTube video or watching a YouTube video while playing a game still, pretty much in a good, usable, full screen mode, which is really cool, because on here, you could do the mini player, but it's not as good as you would have, watching a full screen. And plus, the mini player can get in the way sometimes, so using that was pretty cool on here. I will say, it was pretty cool. So yeah, like I said, if you're going to be multitasking a lot, I 100% would recommend getting the Z Fold 3 over the S21 Ultra, or if you have the S21 Ultra now and you're like, I wish I could do more multitasking, you won't hate the Z Fold 3 at all. You're going to love it. But again, if you're going to be using one app, just stick with the outer display. And if you're not, if you're using more, open it up on here. yeah, honestly, the auto display, I only use it for when I'm doing one thing at a time. I have to do a quick snap or open up a quick email, change a song, check a quick post, something like that. It's rare that I use the under display. I definitely use the under display a lot more, because if you're a multitasking beast, you're gonna love the under display. So when it comes to camera, the S21 Ultra is definitely the better camera, especially because of the zooming, the features, the modes, getting more on here. With the Z Fold 3, you're getting the best simple camera you could get. Honestly, you're getting like an S10/S20 mixture of the cameras, but it's still a really good camera. I think videos are great, 4K is great. You're getting good shots, decent zoom, probably your average zoom. It's like almost like comparable to the iPhone. But ultra wide on here as well. On here, you're getting a lot more, obviously. You're getting the super 100 times zoom, you get 8K, you get different features on here. So if you're going to take advantage of those, definitely go with the S21 Ultra because you're going to enjoy that a lot more. And then the Z Fold 3 also has a front display camera on the outer display, which is pretty good. It's pretty comparable to the front display on the S21 Ultra here. I don't know what the pixel difference is, these are different megapixel, but they both look relatively the same to me, so either one's going to work fine. There also is another one inside the inner display. Now this one, I never use it. It's as you know, it's an under the screen display camera, and it's not the best as far as quality, but the technology involved with it is pretty cool. Even though it may not be the best, I still think it's pretty cool. So it's under the display, like I said, and it's hidden with pixels that you can see still. So it's not the greatest as far as technology, like I said, but still, it's cool to have. So camera-wise, I 100% will say S21 Ultra is the one to go with. So like I said, camera's important to you, just go with this S21 Ultra. So that was the Z Fold 3 versus the S21 Ultra. It's very hard to compare them because it depends on your needs. It really does. So if you're going to be out taking a lot of photos, need the best battery life, need the best phone, don't have to worry about which display you're going to use, S21 Ultra is the way to go. If you're going to be multitasking, you want it for productivity, Z Fold 3 is the way to go. And remember, you're not getting the best cameras here, and battery life is mediocre, so it's not the best. So things to consider on this. And then durability wise, I'm sure this is going to probably be more durable compared to the Z Fold 3 because there's a lot of liability here with the display on the inside, the hinge, there's a lot of liability here. So me, for the average person, the consumer, I would say go with the S21 Ultra. And then if you want a bigger experience, get the Tab S7 Plus, just because you're probably better off going that route and probably going to save some money too. But if you're all about tech, you're the enthusiast, you want the best, the newest, I definitely would say get the Z Fold 3. But that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed, and peace out.